Tonight, Port Lincoln nurses protest for better safety at the city's hospital. And the Deputy Premier announces a $6 million project to reduce lead levels in Port Pirie.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. Nurses have rallied together on Port Lincoln's foreshore this morning to voice their concerns on worker safety at the city's hospital. The petition launched by the Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation was also on display for the public to sign.
Concerned children worried for the safety of their mothers. These nurses from the Port Lincoln Hospital coming together calling for an increase in security.
All of the Safe Work SA's measures that they've recommended need to be implemented, and that includes the officers that are restraint trained and a restraint team, and anything else that the Safe Work SA have recommended.
After several alleged attacks on staff, nurses and midwives claim they've become subjected to abuse.
Verbal and physical abuse. We've had often times where you feel quite threatened and you're having to remove yourself from instances.
The campaign's message is clear: safer nurses equals safer care. The Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation launching a petition which has currently gained over 1,000 signatures. One concerned parent retelling the incident his daughter experienced when working at the hospital.
He was just taking swings at everyone. I can't say if it was him, but someone else, certainly if it wasn't him, hit one of the nurses in the stomach. Right hard, very hard, and that's just not right.
Saying the incident forced her to leave the hospital.
That was the trigger point where she just said, I can't live with this sort of thing. She worked in all sections over her time there. The wards were also just as challenging with not enough staff on duty, and security was virtually nil.
An Eyre Far North Local Health Network spokesperson says safety of staff is its highest concern. That staff are trained to respond to challenging behaviour, and arrangements are in place to ensure the safety and well-being of staff and patients. But the nursing union says it's hard to make that trip to work sometimes.
It's really hard going to work and not feeling like you are protected. It makes you not want to go back sometimes.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The Deputy Premier has announced a $6 million greening project for Port Pirie to reduce lead levels across the community. The money will go towards establishing a dust monitoring network, as well as planting trees and vegetation in highly dusted areas.
A greener future for Port Pirie. The state government partnering with council to create a greening program, seeing trees, plants and grass installed in key locations. Pirie West Primary School will get native plants and paved footpaths, while Solomon Town will receive trees and a clean-up of dust along the railway.
These are all areas that we know are dusty and dry, and when it's windy, that lead-contaminated dust gets up into the air, and that leads to lead in air and lead in blood.
SA Health releasing a report today showing lead levels in children decreased in 2021, but says it's too early to tell if the trend will continue.
We know that lead in air will be reduced when you keep the lead-contaminated dust in the ground below plants.
The Mayor saying today's results are the best they've had in a while.
When we start looking at the measuring stations throughout Port Pirie, with Ellen Street, Pirie West, Solomon Town and the boat ramp, they're 35% lower on average than they've been forever.
TLAP will also establish a dust monitoring program to help identify further actions to reduce lead exposure.
We've got train movements all the time, and that actually rolls back into the community. So every bit of dust that we see in the air and every bit of construction we do, we need to suppress the dust so that we don't get the children with it.
Community groups and individuals can also apply for a greening grant. Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The current independent member for Frome is pushing to bring jobs to Port Augusta through the Defence Force. Jeff Brock has asked the state government to consider moving an aircraft maintenance facility from metropolitan Adelaide to the Upper Spencer Gulf. It comes after the federal government granted South Australia $160 million to build the facility. Mr Brock says building it in our regions would not only create employment, but would also make sure not all defence is located in one place. The chair of Whyala's Ratepayers Association will run again for the seat of Giles for a second election in a row. Tom Antonio says he's more determined than ever to build a stronger future for the electorate if he's successful.
He's back for another crack at becoming the division of Giles's parliamentary representative. Whyalla businessman Tom Antonio announcing he will be SA Best's candidate in the upcoming state election.
The seat of Giles has been taken for granted and they've become complacent. Both the Liberal Party and the Labor Party have not done enough for our regions, and things have to change.
In the 2018 state election, Mr Antonio lost to the incumbent Eddie Hughes by close to 3,000 votes. He says the two major parties have neglected issues in the electorate and he wants to change that.
This time we're going to make sure we hold them to account about what we want done for the seat of Giles. We want actions. We want to see mental health taken care of, domestic violence. We've got crime rates.
For his election platform, Mr Antonio is pushing for more policing in Whyalla and Port Augusta, saying he wants to make our streets safer. In addition, he wants to see more facilities in our region to tackle mental health and domestic violence. With new operators taking over Whyala's aged care facilities, he's keen to work with the federal government to ensure high standards are kept.
We need more aged care beds in Whyalla. We have to make sure that happens because we want to keep our elderly that were born here, they raise the children here, the grandchildren here. We want to keep them in their hometowns.
The state election will be held on Saturday, March 19. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, 2 Whyalla locals caught allegedly drink driving within hours. And nearly $500,000 set to protect the Yorke Peninsula environment. Welcome back. 2 people in Whyalla will face court accused of drink driving, with both drivers caught separately within a span of a few hours. Police allege both of them recorded a blood alcohol reading of more than 2 times the legal limit. For all the details, here's Mark Zita.
In a span of 6 hours, 2 people were caught by officers allegedly driving under the influence of alcohol in Whyalla. The first person was spotted by police on Nicholson Avenue at about 11:50 last Thursday night. Officers say they saw a car travelling slowly at about 45 kilometres per hour in a 60 zone and then proceeded to pull over the vehicle for a breath test. A 32-year-old man allegedly recorded a blood alcohol reading of 0.183, more than twice over the legal limit. He was issued with a 12-month instant loss of licence and was reported for drink driving. Later, early Friday morning, police stopped a vehicle on Winton Street for a mobile driver test. Police allege a 25-year-old woman recorded a blood alcohol reading of 0.112, also more than double the legal limit. She was also reported for drink driving and issued with a 6-month loss of licence. Both drivers had their cars impounded for 28 days. Meanwhile, 3 people will face court in Port Lincoln after separate police searches found cannabis plants and other drug paraphernalia. The 2 alleged drink drivers from Whyalla will face court at a later date.
Nearly $400,000 will go towards coastal protection across the Yorke Peninsula to keep both the environment and residents safe. It's aiming to see the installation of defence structures along the Port Broughton beach and rock armouring in Moonta Bay.
Protecting us from the sea and the sea from us. 3 beaches along the Yorke Peninsula have received grants aiming to prevent erosion and ensure they are maintained for public safety. Moonta Bay will get rock armouring along the coast to protect the caravan park against rising tides.
It'll be a good project to see that up and running, and there are other smaller ones up and down the peninsula. There's still a lot more to do. There's a lot of coastal protection issues, but this is wonderful to see some investment in our beaches.
The project in Moonta Bay had previously started, but can now continue to its completion thanks to an extra $200,000 of funding.
It's really important to have that rock armouring and protect our beautiful coastline, but B, it's also important to make sure that the beach is accessible to everybody.
A ramp will also be installed so people who use a wheelchair can easily access the beach. Port Broughton's beach will receive around $50,000 to improve its protection, and Foul Bay also getting $30,000 to remove and adapt to its hazards.
Between both the beach and the people that use it, and ensuring that we can continue to use it, protect the environment going forward, and make sure that we can continue to attract tourists to our wonderful coastline.
Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
South Australia's social services body is calling for insurance to be more affordable for low-income holders. According to data from SACOS, 1 in 10 or 15 low-income households in the state do not have home insurance. In addition, 1 in 4 people on a low income who also own a car don't have comprehensive car insurance. SACOS says those people would face catastrophic financial losses if they are affected by natural disasters. Stay with us after the break. Splashes of colour hit Broken Hill locals for charity. And an Olympic swimmer shares her professional tips in a Broken Hill children's program. Hello again. Broken Hill's Colour Run made its bright return this year after a forced 2-year hiatus. The event, which raises funds for Ronald McDonald House Adelaide, saw a decent colourful crowd turn out despite a hot morning.
Families walking, running and riding around the 5-kilometre track at Sturt Park. Getting doused in all the colours of a rainbow. Kids having a great time, as well as some 4-legged friends.
It was fun because we've been friends for school and stuff, and I've always wanted a day like this just with me and my best friend.
More than 200 people putting on their runners and adding some colour to their Sunday morning. Supporting sick children at the Ronald McDonald House. The weather really turning it on for the event.
We weren't too sure how it was going to play out, but the weather was magic, so it definitely helped get the numbers up.
Once people finished, they got to sit down and relax with a barbecue and some refreshments, all donated from local businesses.
And we can't thank the community enough. It's very generous and very forthcoming with their sponsorship and donations, so a big thank you to them.
The day couldn't have been made possible without the help of a number of volunteers.
We wouldn't be able to do it without our wives, girlfriends and partners, workmates, colleagues and things like that, so everyone just puts their time in.
Even though it's a year away, organisers are looking forward to next year's event.
Yeah, definitely. Just the looks on faces today and the colour people turned out. They all wear their white and they end up going home technicoloured.
Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Norwood Football Club have run a coaching session for the junior players of the Eyre Peninsula, part of their academy program. The club aims to strengthen the standard of football for the region and potentially recruit players to the SANFL.
The Norwood Football Club continuing to kick goals here in the Eyre Peninsula. A training session held by the club's coaches, seeing some of the best young talent aged between 15 to 18 showcase their skills.
We're very keen to obviously make sure we identify those best young players from the region. We want to try to bring them into our talent pathway where we can, but obviously we also want to sort of strengthen the standard here on the EP.
This year's SANFL fixture will see a range of games played in the regions. Norwood set to host West Adelaide in round 4 at Centenary Oval.
Something that we've been really passionate about since we got the regional zone here. We really wanted to showcase a league game over here, 4 points, really embrace the whole EP community and bring them all together if we can and showcase our league side.
The clash expecting to be a major draw card for the region with upwards to 1,000 people in attendance. But the Mayor is mindful of restrictions come April.
Post-COVID, we're looking at breakout, I suppose. Obviously, we've got to be aware of whatever COVID restrictions may still be in place come April when the SANFL matches are going to be here.
However, Rick says their Red Leg side is eager to take to the field.
Particularly the players that are part of our squad back in Adelaide that originate from the EP, they are really excited about being able to showcase where they've come from.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Broken Hill Swimming Club held a much anticipated swimming carnival over the weekend. A number of talented swimmers took part at the Aquatic Centre, featuring a very special guest to present the medals.
Stars of the future converging on Broken Hill on Saturday. Ready to show their training and hard work has been paying off, with some swimmers travelling from as far as Mildura to compete.
There's 4 different clubs at the moment. There's us, there's 5 swimmers from Silver City, a couple of swimmers from Mildura and Murray-Darling.
With help from the Musicians Club, Special guest Olympic swimmer Emily Seebohm was on hand to give the winners their medals. Originally, Olympian Lisa Curry was meant to feature. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to attend.
They found Lisa Curry, who got COVID at the last minute, and then Emily Seebohm stepped up and said that she'd come for us.
The Olympian enjoying the carnival.
Yeah, definitely loving the whole environment here. I think everyone's got a great attitude, which is amazing. That's always fun to start with. Everyone's coming out smiling, which is fantastic.
Watching the stars of tomorrow, bringing back some memories of her early years in the pool.
From the beginning, competition is what got me into swimming to begin with. So being here gives me great reminders of why I fell in love with swimming, for the competition and to have some fun with your friends. And a great day like this is just fantastic.
The swimmers' presence at the carnival putting plenty of smiles on competitors' faces, posing for photos and signing autographs.
Yeah, I've got a couple of autographs. I've got one on my shirt and on my swimming cap.
Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us, more sport after the break. We'll have all the scores and highlights from weekend cricket. And Alex Sykes will join us with the week's weather details. Welcome back. Finals fever is starting to pop up across our viewing region, with the Broken Hill Cricket League nearing a close and the Upper North Super League wrapping up. Organisers say expanding the Super League from 4 rounds to 7 was a great success, and players are keen for it to return next year. Here with all the details is Edward McCarroll.
Round 7 of the Northern Super League has seen the intercity contest wrap up in spectacular form.
The final round seeing North Whyalla finish on top of the ladder after holding first place for much of the contest. West Whyalla became the final stepping stone for the champions to overcome. Angus McDonald's well-placed hits were Westie's best chance for salvation, but it was nowhere near enough, with Westies all out for 23. The heartbreak continued, with West unable to stop the runaway train that was North, with their batting lineup immediately outclassing them. The performance showing exactly why North remained on top of the table and were left to hold the trophy. Over at Bennett Oval, Central Whyalla defeated Rapina in a much higher scoring game. Batting first, Central's piled on a whopping 5 for 237, Rapina in reply only making 92. In Port Augusta, the contest was just as fierce, with South Augusta defeating Central Stirling by 28. Over in Quorn, West Augusta set the pace for their match with 151 runs. Westies can thank Chris Shield for a fair portion of that score, smashing out 62 runs on the pitch. A feat that the home side Quorn just could not replicate, with the team only mustering 144. The final table for the Northern Super League showing that Central Whyalla and West Augusta weren't far off the winners' heels, while West Whyalla in last place will be keen to redeem themselves. In round 14 of Port Lincoln cricket, the Waybacks' Hamish Newman had a cracker of a game, making 55 runs. His efforts helping to push the Waybacks over the line to defeat Todd River by just 4 runs. In the other match, Southern Air went 8 for 140, defeating Charlton 10 for 104. In the Port Pirie League, Wandera made 6 for 159, thumping Port Germain, who were all out for 58. And in the other game, Proprietary defeated Southport. Austin Waters once again proving himself as one of Proprietary and the league's best, making 66 runs for the club. Finally, in Broken Hill, West have closed the door on North's season, denying them the opportunity for a 5th consecutive grand final appearance. They will take on reigning premiers Centrals next week.
And that's all for this weekend's cricket. We will be back tomorrow night with a wrap-up of the region's other sports.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and happy Monday, everyone. A few showers across the Gulf today. A bit of a shock after the beautiful weekend. From 3 p.m. today, Port Pirie was a shower of 2 and 29, Cleveridge 26 and Coffin Bay was 22. Looking further out across the region now, Port Augusta was humid and partly cloudy and 31 degrees. Whyalla was 27, Broken Hill was 31, partly cloudy for Port Lincoln 23, Adelaide showers and a possible storm 27. Kadina had a shower of 2 and was 26, Cleve was cloudy, also 26, Clare was 27, and Cooper Pedy was mostly sunny and 34. Taking a look at the satellite image now, bright clouds swirling over eastern parts of South Australia with an upper low and deep trough is triggering showers and storms, some intense. Skies are mostly clear over northern and western parts of the state under a dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southerly winds 15 to 20 knots, seas around 1 metre increasing to 1 1 to 2 in the afternoon. South to southwesterly swells below 1 metre. Port Lincoln will be partly cloudy and 24, Cleve to reach 25, and Woodna is said to get to a high of 31. Whyalla and Kadina will both get to 27. Port Augusta will be partly cloudy and 29 degrees. Port Pirie will have a max of 28, Cleve 25, and Broken Hill will have a shower or two, and is set to reach a max of 29 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, it will reach 31 degrees in Port Augusta and Port Pirie on Wednesday. Kadina and Broken Hill will both get to 29. Clark Clearing and Woodna with 34 the top. Partly cloudy in Port Lincoln with 25 degrees. Heating up a little on Thursday, Broken Hill will be sunny and 31. Cooper Pedy will be mostly sunny with a high of 40. It'll reach 36 degrees in Port Augusta and Woodna. Let's take a look at Friday's forecast now, and it'll be partly cloudy in most parts. Port Pirie and Whyalla both set to reach 31. Cooper Pedy will be humid and 35 degrees. And that's all the weather from me for tonight, Ruby. It's back to you.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Monday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.